Welcome to Wisdom for Your Day. Get ready for knowledge from real people with life lessons you can apply to your journey today. By age 26, Dave Ramsey was a real estate prodigy, pulling in roughly $20,000 a month. From the outside, he had beaten the game early. Ramsey's childhood was marked by financial instability, which created a deep-seated drive to finally feel secure. But that drive led him to build a mirage, relying on heavily leveraged debt rather than actual financial stability. He learned the hard way that looking successful and actually being successful are two different realities. In 1988, the structure collapsed. When banks demanded repayment on millions of dollars in loans, Ramsey and his wife were forced into a devastating bankruptcy. The crash exposed a massive gap in his emotional intelligence. Early success had created an overconfidence that masked poor judgment. Suddenly, the man who supposedly had all the answers had to admit he was out of options. Ramsey had to confront the why behind his spending, realizing his habits were still tied to those early fears of instability. He had to learn to manage that fear under pressure and assess his life based on facts, not his desire to appear wealthy. He also had to strip away his public image. He realized he had been the Joneses, projecting a life he couldn't actually afford to maintain. Unresolved emotional blind spots will eventually tear down even the most aggressive business strategies. Following the bankruptcy, Ramsey made a choice that defined his future. Rather than blaming the banks or the economy, he turned inward and studied exactly why his own strategy had failed. This was the beginning of his recovery. He used the failure as a starting point for a new identity, admitting that his previous understanding of money was wrong and needed to be rebuilt from scratch. He began practicing delayed gratification, trading the temporary comfort of spending for the difficult, slow process of building real progress. Recovery only begins when you take absolute personal responsibility for your current reality. Ramsey used that accountability to systematically change his daily behavior, focusing on strict budgeting and eliminating every dollar of consumer debt. He decided to turn his personal pain into a mission, determining to help other families avoid the same financial traps he had fallen into. These emotional tools allowed him to stabilize his life and forge a new reality that was no longer dependent on bank loans. Sorting out your internal habits is the necessary first step to building anything of substance on the outside. That personal recovery soon grew into a large educational mission, moving from small living room counseling sessions to the national airwaves. Ramsey turned his recovery into a system. He simplified complex financial ideas into the baby steps and debt snowball, turning survival tactics into a repeatable path. He led with an unwavering philosophy, providing a structured path giving people clarity. He built systems rather than just relying on motivation. The tragedy of losing everything became the foundational purpose of his entire organization. A leader's most powerful tool is the ability to transform their own experience into a blueprint that empowers others. Today, Ramsey Solutions and Financial Peace University have reached nearly 10 million people. Dave Ramsey didn't become successful because he avoided failure. He succeeded because he built a system to learn from his greatest devastation. Now, you have to decide if you have the resilience to do the same. As he often says, if you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. True wisdom starts with action. Step up, become a champion of change, and shape your own future. If you are ready to grow, subscribe, follow, and join our community. Find our full library of stories on YouTube under Wisdom for Your Day. Stay resilient and remember to be yourself. Everyone else is taken.